yellow jacket that lady's wearing. We're so happy and we're so blessed that we have Lane and Debbie here in our presentation. They just arrived and we're so grateful for having them. Also, Sue, thank you for being here. I know you just had your eye operation 2 days ago and you made it to our meeting here. Thank you so much. I really would appreciate each and every one of you coming here. We'll have more people coming along the way, okay? But we're going to get started. Thank you, Luz, and everybody. Elda, for helping me out. Tony, as always.
Oh, yes.
Thank you so much. Today we're going to have a training. It's going to be a lot of information, how we can get that yellow jacket quicker. And it's going to be an awesome training. And I would like to introduce to you our guest speaker. He's been #1 in network marketing for many years. He has over 20 years of network marketing experience. And we're going to learn from the #1, not #1, okay? So he's going to help us to go to the $1 Million Club and also to have our yellow jacket. And later on, we're going to have our #1 team in Ambit Energy. So please help me welcome our very own from Woodlands National Consultant, Lane Winsett.
All right, well, it's happy to be back here in Harlingen, beautiful Harlingen. I understand the home of the sweetest oranges. Right? Even Florida can't claim that title, can they? And we're a very beautiful day out here. It's a balmy, about 75 degrees, and you know, it won't be long. It'll be a balmy 105 degrees down here, right? But we know that they're digging out of snow up north right now, like 12 or 13 inches. So I'm happy. I love the weather down here, and very proud to be in Harlingen, Texas. You know, there's a saying: the weakest ink is stronger than the strongest memory. And what that means is that if you do take good notes, that would be helpful for you. Feel free to record this session if you want to record it for any reason. But you know, some people don't have to take notes to learn. So I don't want you to feel like I'm not a big note taker myself. When I go to conferences, I like to listen. You know, so people learn in different ways. So just whatever's comfortable for you. If you want to take notes, that's great. If you just want to sit back and listen, that would be great as well. If you have a smartphone and you want to record me, I don't have a problem with that. So that way you can play it a little later for your learning experience and get some spaced repetition. What I want to first start about today is, of course, laying the foundation. Because if you build a building, the first thing you want to do is you want to put in a good, strong foundation, do you not?
Yes.
If you don't have a strong foundation, you get cracks in the foundation, and termites get in there, and you have all kinds of problems, electrical problems, and instability in the building. So in building your Ambit business, like building a business, you want to make sure that you have a good, solid foundation to work on. And a lot of times that's kind of skipped over, because people naturally they really haven't had a lot of maybe experience in the industry, and they'll jump right to it and not really take the time to kind of cultivate their garden, so to speak. So if we use the analogy of a garden, you're going to go out and till the soil and make sure that the soil is properly tilled, and then you're going to make sure you give a little time, to maybe put some fertilizer in there, and then plant your seeds. And then after you plant your seeds, you're going to cover it up with some good soil to make sure that the soil is there. Water it a little bit, and then give it some sunshine, and then out of that, bright, strong sprouts a beautiful garden. Well, that's kind of the way your Ambit business is. You don't just put the seeds in the ground, and all of a sudden, the next day you go out and you expect to have squash or okra or tomatoes, do you? You have to put the seeds in the ground and give them time to kind of do their natural thing. And so, your business in Ambit Energy is built over time. And it's important to understand that, this is not a fly-by-night company where we're here today, gone tomorrow. We're not selling some kind of newfangled widget that, is a fad, so to speak. And a lot of companies, a lot of great companies that have been built over the years have a lot of what I call churn or turnover in the business. Because they sell a product. And it's important to understand the difference between selling a service and what we do in selling a product. Because with a product, normally people have to pay what's called an auto ship. In other words, they buy, maybe it might be a healthcare product, could be a nutritional product, could be a skincare product, it might be coffee, it could be a whole host of different things. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of great companies out there with great products, But the challenge is that every month you have to pay between $50 and $200 a month to get an auto shipment of that product sent to you, and then they in turn expect you to do what? Turn around and sell that product retail, do they not? And a lot of times after 1 or 2 months you might sell the product, but then what happens after the 3rd and 4th and 5th and 6th month, and then now you get into a year and you start stumbling over it in your garage, and it's packed in your closet and up in your cupboards, and everywhere you look you've got a whole bunch of it. And then of course if something happens and you need that $200 that you were spending on your product and you stop it, then the residual income that we're really working for stops as well, does it not?
Yes.
And so it's important to understand the difference between our business, where when people use energy at the end of the month, that energy's gone. Nobody stocks it, and sits on it. It's a real, true consumable product, which is very, very important to understand. Plus, over the long haul, are we not going to be using electricity and natural gas for a very, very long time?
Yes.
It really doesn't matter how they produce the energy. In other words, whether it's coal-fired energy, whether it's natural gas, whether it's turbine-driven or maybe solar-driven. There's all different types of ways to create energy and to actually create natural gas, but the actual delivery grid that's there remains the same. In other words, whenever they build a building, every time that they put a building up or put in a house, what's one of the things they always seem to have on the side of the house? A meter, right? And so, in our lifetime, as long as we're alive and we continue to grow and continue to build our business, this is a business that will be here for a very, very long time. Unlike a lot of other businesses where if you sold somebody a product, you've got to change their behavior. Because if, let's say, you used a skincare product, you're not using the same skincare products today that you used maybe 10 years ago, right? And you're maybe not taking the same nutritional products that you're taking today that you took 10 years ago. So as creatures of habit, we want to have people use our product reflexively, where they don't have to think about using it, and nobody thinks about getting up in the morning and blow drying their hair, or putting in the dishes in the dishwasher, or making sure that the hot water heater's on, right? In other words, they're going to use it whether we like it or not. And it's important to understand that, because when you're talking to a new prospect or somebody that might be new in the business, you really want to make sure that you communicate that to them, and the differences of why we're different than other companies, and that the fact that our company is here really to build a company built on a legacy, and it's so important that we're not just, our founders of our company are not here just to get rich, let me put it that way. They're here to build. If you look at our co-founders, Jerry Thompson Jr. and Chris Chambliss, both of these gentlemen are family men. They're very, very wonderful leaders, and they're here, for us, in the long haul, not the quick fix. And it's so important, especially when you look at different ways that companies can have issues or challenges. Now, when we talk about your company, and we talk about building a good foundation, the first thing that we have to do is we have to sit down, believe it or not, and have a little meeting with ourselves, and get a piece of paper, a pencil, or a pen, or maybe your computer. And it doesn't matter whether you're 6 or 106, right? In other words, even when you were a little kid looking out the window, I remember, I got a chance to meet these beautiful girls here today. As they're smaller children, kids dream, do they not? They look out the window and they think about what they're going to become or what's going to happen in their life, and what they might want to become as far as an adult. But that dream kind of changes over a period of time. And so where a young man might want to be a fireman, or might want to be a policeman, or might want to work as an attorney or CPA or whatever, as they get older in life, things start to change. And each and every one of us have worked hard all of our life in different jobs and different professions, even if it's being a stay-at-home mom, because that's the biggest, toughest job that there is out there, is just being a mom, And but what we have to understand is that this is a career with Ambit, and as a career, it's like a career change, and it's important to set some specific goals that you want to achieve in order to recapture your dreams. And most people in their lifetime kind of give up on their dreams. They get beaten up. They get in a rut, and a rut's a grave with the ends kicked out. And 1 year goes into 10 years goes into 20, goes into 30, and then we get to where we're in our 50s or 60s or whatever, and we feel like, gosh, time is about up, and I don't feel like I can accomplish anything. When in fact, some of the greatest accomplishments in man and woman's time are in their later 60s, 70s, and 80s. And the 60s, 70s, and 80s of today are not the 60s, 70s, and 80s of yesterday, you know. I mean, a lot of us look at, you know, if you can think back of your relatives that were maybe 60 or 70 years old, you thought, wow, those people are really old, you know. Well, I'm 58 years old, so I'm just 2 years from 60 myself. Now, I know I'm a good-looking 60-year-old guy, right? So, no question about that. But the point being is that eventually, you know, I mean, you think about it, and I'm 12 years from being 70. Now, do I look like I'm 12 years from being 70? Go like this. I saw some of y'all go like that. I had to sit there and think for a second. But my point is that I don't want anybody, no matter what age you are, to feel like you're out of the game. You're out of the, you know, that you're not able to really do some wonderful things. Certainly if you're younger, you have a bit more time to do it. But the point is that this is a business that within 3 to 5 years, if you set some personal goals, and that's what I'm going to be talking about today, is kind of a plan of action that you can use on a monthly basis that's attainable and achievable, that every month that you can do, that's something that's very realistic if you will challenge yourself to do it, that over a period of time that you'll have some success in this business within the first 2 to 3 years. And then from 5 years, I mean, you'll really be sitting in the catbird seat. So let's talk a little bit about the first thing. If you have an opportunity to stop by a home Office Depot or a Staples or whatever your local office supply, thank you, might be, I don't know what y'all have in this area here, but what I would do is I would get a 5-subject notebook, kind of like you had in college. You know, I know this sounds almost dinosauric, but you know the old 5-subject notebooks that have the 5 subjects in them. And if you really look hard, you'll even find one that's got a yellow cover on it. Why would you want a yellow cover on your 5-subject notebook? Kind of an affirmation, right, for your gold, for your yellow jacket. And so I've got one in my little kit back there. Looky there. All right, got one just like that. Exactly. Thank you very much. Way ahead of me. No, that's fine. I'm glad you held it up there because that shows them what we're looking for. Thank you. I'm proud of you. So in that first subject, or that first section of your notebook, what you want to do is that is kind of your dream section. That's where you're going to sit down, and let me just say this. The way you have to start dreaming again when you set goals is you kind of have to trick yourself in a way, because you know you have the reality of where you're at now, and it's very hard for your mind to kind of expand and get to the point to where, you know, gosh, you know, I'm here now. How do I? Because we've been told not to dream. You know, we've been told sit down. You know, shut up. Don't talk to the girl next to you. Don't bite off more than you can chew. Don't love when you're not wanted. You know, you could never do it. Your brother never did it. Nobody on the block ever did it. You know, so we're constantly beat down with a baseball bat, especially by our close friends, neighbors, relatives, and business associates. A lot of times, the very people that you would think are the ones that are going to edify us and try to bring us up, they're very comfortable with you where you're at today. Because they live in that, what I call the box of mediocrity. And the box of mediocrity is basically where most people reside, where it's very comfortable and it's warm and fuzzy, you know. But the minute you step out of that box to become something else in your life, then ultimately what happens is you get uncomfortable. And if you're uncomfortable, then you feel like, because there's risk involved, right? In other words, you took a risk when you start your business and you pay your $429 as an entrepreneur, and you say, okay, I'm going to pay my $429. You know, one of the great things about our business is that's a very low risk threshold in going into business, is it not?
Yes.
I mean, most businesses cost you literally tens of thousands of dollars if you're going to buy a franchise or any kind of, even a small lawn maintenance business would cost you thousands of dollars to run. And then you got to pay all that overhead and deal with all of those issues, where here, most people get their initial investment back with our company within a relatively short period of time. Within the first week or 2 weeks, they can have their initial investment back, which means that they own a business that is a profitable business, which is a lot more than a lot of other people can say that go out and spend $3 and $4 million to buy a McDonald's franchise. You know, if you sign the paperwork and you buy a franchise of any type, and it costs $1 million, $2 million, or you got an SBA loan, or you borrowed it from a bank or a federal credit union or whatever, you're in debt, are you not? Yeah. You're in debt until you finally get to see black ink. And very few businesses ever see any black ink. you know, because it's difficult for them to be able to make a profit. And then even so, it takes a couple of years. It takes 2, 3, 4, sometimes 5 years for them to ever see any profit on their business. Here, our business turns a profit very quickly. So everything that you earn from that point in time, you can actually look at somebody and say, hey, I have a successful business that's in the energy business, and every time you get a bonus check, every time you get a residual check, you know, that means that you're doing a lot more than a lot of other people do that spend tremendous amounts of money to accomplish the same goal. Plus, you have less stress, you know. So the first section that you're going to be using in your yellow 5-subject notebook is going to be about you sitting down, and what I'd like for you to do is get you a check, like out of your checkbook, and I want you to write 2 checks for $1 million each, okay? And I want you to take it and write that check out just as if it was $1 million to yourself, and then staple it, you know, inside the cover of your yellow notebook. In other words, where you open it. So every time you open that notebook, there's your check for $1 million, okay? Now that's an affirmation, and an affirmation is a visual reminder, if you will, of that $1 million. And then I want you to take the second $1 million check, have fun with this, and stick it up on your mirror where you brush your teeth every morning. Okay? Or put your teeth in, like me. I mean, I don't know. No, so whatever you have to do, stick that $1 million check. Don't let anybody laugh at you. Stick the $1 million check up there, and then set a goal. Let's say realistic goal of let's say 2017, just to give us a little time. Okay? Now that may sound like a long way away, but you know, I've been with the company 8 years now. So, you know, I just didn't instantly make $1 million with the company in the first year, did I? It took me a little time. So just like that. So realistically, make that check out for, let's say, 2017 to yourself. Now, those of you that are go-getters, you might be able to cash that check a lot sooner, you know, and really, it's the cumulative amount of money that you make over time. It's not like $1 million that one day. Matter of fact, most of you in your lifetime will make over $1 million just working as a job, you know, over your whole life. So the beautiful thing about having that million then is that I want you to then kind of trick yourself mentally to say, okay, I don't owe any bills. I have no bills that I have to pay. I paid off everything, you know, and I have this $1 million in the bank to spend. Now, if I had $1 million in the bank to spend, cash money, and you could really get your mind there. And sometimes you have to get off by yourself, you know, under a tree or out on a bench or somewhere where it's quiet, and you know, get you some hot tea or whatever, and you have to sit there with and you'll look at that blank piece of paper, and you'll say, okay, I've got $1 million, because if I guarantee you, if I gave you a check that you could hammer and cash for $1 million, I can tell you exactly where you would go within the first 24 to 48 hours. You know where you would go? Car dealership. I know a lot of you will say no, but I can trust me. You be looking at the cars as you're passing down the freeway. You'll be at least your head will be kind of looking over like this. I think I bought those Cadillac Escalades. That's what I want, or whatever kind of car you want. But my point is that the first thing that people normally buy, if they have all their bills paid off and they have money in the bank, are materialistic things. Do they not? Okay, we're going to talk about other things that are just as valuable as materialistic things, that are very important to you in your life, actually more valuable. But let's just stick right now with what are the things that you would buy if you had $1 million? You know, what zip code would you live? Where would you live? And I know some people say, well, I just live in the same house trailer that I'm living in now. Well, just make it a double wide house trailer, right? Maybe 2-story house trailer with a spiral staircase, you know, and chandeliers, you know, and a white picket fence. I don't know. You know, might have you a hot tub out there. You'd have the best looking house trailer on the block. I can tell you that right now. People come over just to look at your house trailer, right? You know, have a leopard couch over there with a spiral staircase going up the track. You know, put Elvis paintings on the wall. I don't know. You know, make it look nice. My point is that I know you want something. The question is you got to jump mentally over that. I mean, you have to do this exercise because you see, until you know what you want out of life, until you know what you are passionate about, okay? In other words, until you really feel in your heart that this is something that's worthy of your time and a goal to do it, that's where the motivation lies that keeps you going, okay? That's the gas that you put in your high-performance vehicle that allows you to go around the track and take the checkered flag, okay? So when you look at motivation is very important for you and the people that you build on your team. Because if you're not motivated, then you're not going to do anything. Okay? Motivation is so important. Let's take a first look at the word motivation. And see where it comes from. If you took the word motivation, right? That's motivation, right? M-O-T-I-V. If you cut this in half and put an E right there, and you put a A-C-T-I-O-N, what would you have? A motive for what? Action. You have a motive for action, right? Okay? Because the laws of physics say every action creates a what?
Reaction.
A reaction, right? So if you're not doing something, if you're not making something happen, nothing's happening. Would you agree? Okay? So let's understand what the three types of motivation are that you're going to be dealing with, both personally and how people will try to motivate you, okay? As well as, how you motivate yourself, because the more you understand motivation, the more you can kind of analyze where all of this is coming from. And one of the most powerful forms of motivation, known to man, is called fear motivation. Okay? And you say fear motivation, you hear people will jump through hoops not to lose money, right? In other words, if it could be like 10 or 15 cents, and if you can, oh my God, it's like they're looking at pennies on the ground when dollar bills are falling out of the sky. The other type of motivation is called incentive motivation. So I want to talk about these two first, incentive and fear. Let's pretend like Johnny is in junior high school and his grades have dropped, right? And he gets together, his mom and dad get together, and they said they notice he's been eyeballing this bicycle, right, that he likes. And so they go to Johnny and they say, Johnny, if you get your grades up this semester or this quarter, we're going to buy that bicycle for you that you've been looking at Toys R Us. So what do you think happens to his grades? His grades go up, right? Because he's excited about it, and he studies, and he was motivated through an incentive. In other words, to jump so high, right? They incentivized him to go out and get his grades raised up. And then, so what do you think Johnny's doing the next quarter? Out riding his bicycle, right? And what happens to his grades then? His grades drop, right? And then now what do mom and dad say? Johnny, if you don't get your grades back up, we're going to what? We're going to take that bike away from you that we bought, right? Okay? So you not only incentivize them to jump so high to achieve that goal, but it wouldn't last. Incentive motivation doesn't last. It's temporary. It comes normally from another source. Somebody else provides that motivation, and it's effective, it works, but it doesn't last, okay? But fear motivation also works, does it not? Okay, because if he knew he had to get his bike taken away, then what's he going to do? He's going to try to get those grades back up as well. So, you can vacillate back and forth through this. Our company doesn't use fear to motivate us, but all the time, our company does what? They use incentive motivation to motivate us through different bonus programs and incentives and those types of things to get us to add production to our bottom line. So these are effective, they don't last, and they normally come from somebody else. That's the important things that I wanted you to know, okay? But the most powerful form of motivation is personal goals. Okay? Personal goals come from dreams. And everything that's on this planet that we see that's materialistic, that's man and woman made, came out of a dream. And let me give you an example of that. Everything that we see here is either made out of wood, petroleum products, iron ore or steel, or sand. Okay? Because man and woman take sand off of the beaches of the world and they create what? Silicon chips that run our computers. They make the glasses that we look out of. They make the lenses, okay? And big microscopes. That's where glass comes from, is from sand. It's a natural resource. God put it on the planet, right? We took and changed the molecules of the atoms and converted them to something that is still here. It's still glass, but it's just changed because somebody thought it up. Somebody created it in their mind and put it on a piece of paper and then brought it to fruition through being able to have what is the greatest gift that God gives us, as far as I'm concerned, and that's the ability to co-create with Him. That doesn't mean that we're gods. It just means that He gave us the ability to think and to create. Okay? And what did He do? He put the natural resources on the planet. So we went down and dug up the iron ore, and out of iron ore we created steel and all different types of aluminums and different types of metals, and created spaceships that were launched into the deepest parts of the universe, right? And we took and created submarines that go to the deepest depths of the ocean. Man and woman did that. But it came out of what? Out of the mind first. And we took those natural resources and converted them. So we took the forest and chopped them down and created what? Houses and furniture and all of your paper products, like toilet paper. Thank you for taking toilet paper, whoever that first guy was that figured that out. Okay? Just go without it for about a month, right? And see how things turn out for you. There's no Sears and Roebuck catalogs anymore for all you old guys. Okay? Because we got the internet. So my point is that if you take then and look at petroleum products, what do petroleum products give us? Well, sure, they fuel our cars, but they also make the tires that are on the cars. They make all the plastic, the chairs that you're sitting in. This carpet is made out of petroleum products. You know, a lot of the clothes that you wear, the makeups that you wear. I mean, think about all of these natural resources that man and woman have then taken out of the ground, are converted. Even like crops, we take now and look at biofuel that's created off of agriculture. Okay. Now, that's a pretty powerful thing, is it not, that a human can be able to create that? Because, you know, we're so lucky to live in this time and age where just less than 180 years ago, I think it's somewhere around there, you know, is when we first started to fly. And now we have, you know, it's like, I think it was said it was 37,000 flights that have been canceled or something, you know, globally or something because of this. Yeah. How many flights did you hear that crashed? Think about how many flights take off and land every day, both small planes, big planes, little planes, and very rarely do you hear of a plane's crashing, do you? I mean, it's unbelievable. If you think, we just take that for advantage. But all of that came out of a dream. The Wright brothers said, "Look, I want to fly." And they were in the bicycle business. They manufactured and designed bicycles, and out of bicycles, they said, well, if we get this bicycle going and we put some wings on it, we might be able to turn this bicycle into something that can fly, and they did. And then you had the guy over in Russia that invented the television. The Russian that invented television. You say, well, what does all this have to do with Ambit Energy? Well, until you can create your own life and dream about what it is that you want your life to be, and you take the time to sit down and be the architect and write out the GPS coordinates for where you want to end up, then what you've done is, if you don't put those GPS coordinates down on paper, I mean, we wouldn't hop in a car just like I got in the car with Debbie and I left Corpus Christi. Well, the first thing I did was I put the address in, got the GPS coordinates right, and got and it took me right here. People talking to me right here. You know, I knew my destination was here, and I ended up here. But people in their life, what happens is they don't sit down and spend the time to write out where they want to eventually be. And guess what? You're the master of that. So you can change it up any way that you want to change it. So it's not stuck in stone. It's not like something you write down, you got to stick with it. You can erase it and say, well, I don't want to go there anymore. I want to go here now. But you at least, if me and you got in a boat, right, and we left out of Galveston, Texas, or out of Corpus Christi, and we were headed to Australia, and I didn't know anything about sailing, and you didn't know anything about sailing, and we just got the map out and the compass, and we started saying, okay, we're headed to Australia. We kind of sort of think like we know where we're going, but we didn't have GPS. Over time, if we got off course just a little bit over time, where would we end up? South America somewhere, right? We'd end up in South America. You know? And that's what happens with people's lives. They don't mean to end up eating out of the Dunkin' Donuts dumpster. You know? They don't mean to end up there.